Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And this time around, it's the Russo brothers movie on Netflix right now called The Electric State. Welcome, everybody. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the videos that pop up at the very end here. One pops up there, one pops up over here. If you'll basically what YouTube does, it takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the vast video libraries, one of the videos, my vast video library, I should say. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below. It's someplace down here. Also, if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have. I change it every week. Also, have all the links to my social media there and all the links to my pages as well. So like I said, I'm going to do a spoiler-free review first, and then I will do a spoiler review. This movie it's based on a novel, and it's set in an alternate 1990s, early 1990s, where humanity has had a war with robots, if you will, and it's the aftermath of all of this. And a girl who's lost her family is looking for her brother, and supposedly he is out in the wastelands of where these robots have basically been uh, I guess you could say that's where they're quarantined to. They're behind a wall, and she needs help, and it's in the form of Chris Pratt, who is also going to be in all of this as well. um So it does get into some other stuff as well, which I'll get into the spoiler version of it. But long story short, I know there's been a lot of hate online about this movie for some reason. It's just kind of weird. I- It's an okay sci-fi movie. If you've not read the book, I haven't read the book, and I thought it was an okay movie. Is it up to the Russo brothers standards? Not really. I mean, as of late, yes. I mean, they're not doing too well lately, but I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable popcorn movie that you can sit down and watch on like a Saturday afternoon and be fine with it. If I paid money to see this in the theater, no, I would say this is not worth seeing in a theater. I mean, it's instantly forgettable for the most part. um, I don't have any desire to really go back and rewatch it. So, yeah, it's not memorable in really any way, and fairly generic. I mean, a lot of stuff. Let's face it, a lot of stuff on Netflix right now is fairly generic and is not really rewatchable, or it's instantly forgettable. And this kind of falls into that nature of this. They spent something like $300 million on it, $310 million on it, and it's mainly for the special effects. Um, yeah, it's a lot of wasted money, I'm just gonna say right now. So, um, is it worth your time? Depends. If you're bored on a Saturday afternoon and or an evening or something like that, and you wanna take 2 hours out, I believe it's 2 hours long, if I remember correctly. Let me take a look over at the IMDb again. Yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes long. So if you have 2 hours that you wanna kill and you wanna watch a sci-fi movie, that's what you're in the mood for, kind of a light sci-fi well, light-ish sci-fi movie, I should say. Yeah, it's worth your time. If not, and if, like, either one of the actors, grates on you, Chris Pratt or, Millie Bobby Brown, then, yeah, you're gonna say, "No, I don't wanna see this." So, this is one of those, again, middle of the road kind of movies that you're gonna have to use your own best judgment on if you wanna see it or not. So, that's where we end up on this one. Um, so let me go into the spoiler territory here. So, over here, spoiler alert, I am gonna spoil the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, this is the part where you wanna either pause the video and go and watch it and then come on back, or you can, turn me off and, you know, there's multiple ways of doing that. Anyway, just You can turn off the video, go and watch it, come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so the alternate 90s here is that basically Walt Disney pioneered animatronics, he pioneered robotics, and as a result of this, we had robots that could help us with all kinds of stuff. We had automation things, mail, all kinds of stuff that was going on, and they got sentience, if you will, AI, um, to the point where they got pissed off that they were being treated like slaves, and they just wanted a little, recognition, I guess you could say, and started a war. That's what it came down to. Um, and the humans were losing, and then all of a sudden they weren't losing. And it turns out that, excuse me, Millie Bobby Brown, her parents and her brother, they were in a car. They got into a car accident from a deer, of all things. And supposedly everyone died except for her. Well, it actually turns out that her brother, who was like uber smart, basically he was doing a problem that he did a problem in a couple of hours that they said that Einstein, it took him 3 days to figure out the equation. So he's super smart. Turns out that he was actually taken by a corporation. Obviously, he was comatose, and they were basically hooked his brain up to. They used it as a computer. They used his brain as a computer, and somehow or another, and this is the muddy part of it, he was able to, well, not really the muddy part. They basically processed all of, so soldiers that were using robots in order to fight other robots, because that was the logical way of doing it. The processing speed just wasn't there, so their reaction time to the processing the robots wasn't enough. But when they process it through a brain, a human brain, this kid's brain, for example, they found out that it was almost instantaneous, and that actually is what turned the tide of the war. Um, he ends up, of course, after a couple of, I think it was like about almost a year, he comes out of the coma, and the doctor who was looking after him, uh, of course, had an ethics a quandary about that, and so he was fired. And the guy who owns the company, played by Stanley Tucci, ends up putting the kid back in the coma to basically process. So after the war has ended, everyone has these VR helmets that they're in. And everyone pretty much lives in a VR world because the world is shitty, is what they're getting at. And this is the doctor who had the quandary, of course, created a backdoor for the kid so he could let his consciousness get out into another robot, this small robot. And once he was able to fully get his consciousness into this robot, he went looking for a sister to help him. And that's where we're at with all of this. It's an interesting plot. It's an interesting story. It just was not handled deftly. And again, like I said, it's your writing, it's your directing, it's your acting. They all come together all at the same time. And if anything is lacking in any of this, especially when you have this many kind of plates spinning, uh, it could spell disaster, and you could lose your audience. And that's what I think happened here. Is I think they kind of went formulaic with it. They went by the numbers, the Russo brothers, on this, and it came out more formulaic than it should have been, and it lost the audience. It quite honestly lost the audience. You could have actually done this in a 6 episode, 1 hour episodes, um, season, like a mini series, if you will, and pulled this off a little bit better because you could have delved into it a little bit better. And yeah, I think it would have come out better. And then also there's the acting. Chris Pratt. Oh, I'm kind of tired of Chris Pratt. He plays the same character over and over and over again. He even acknowledges it that he plays the same guy over and over and over again. And quite honestly, I'm tired of him. Millie Bobby Brown, she started off on a high point, I guess you could say, Stranger Things, and has just started coming down, in her acting. She needs, I think, to find better projects, maybe find a better manager. I don't know, talent agent, whatever, to find some better projects on this. She's a talented actress. She really is. It's just that she's working with Drek is really what's going on. Um, yeah, in the end of all of this, we also come down to the whole question of euthanasia, is what it comes down to, because you can't cram his consciousness from the robot back into the body. And his body is basically so far gone at this point at the end that it's not going to survive anyway outside of the capsule that he's in. So he asks his sister, of course, to pull the plug on him. And she doesn't want to do it. But if she doesn't, then pretty much all of humanity's screwed because they're running, again, this VR program through his brain. And also, the robots really didn't want to kill humanity. They just wanted, you know, some freedom is really what they wanted. And in the end of all of this, yes, she ends up pulling the plug on her brother. Um, she does end up getting freedom for the human or for the robots in a way, and exposes what this guy did. And so he, of course, gets arrested. Stanley Tucci gets arrested. The robots live in their own little world, but as she puts out a video, her character puts out a video, basically inviting people that if they just don't fit in anywhere to come and live with them and the robots, which was kind of a weird thing. That it was kind of a gray area near the end there. So there's a lot of gray areas within here. Like I said, that if you had pushed this out to a 6 episode, 1 hour each, episode, you could have filled in some of the blanks a little bit better instead of having to deal with more pratfalls. No pun well, yes, I guess it's a pun intended there. Because it leaned more heavily towards the comedy at most of the time instead of what could have been a really good story. And yeah, it, it became, like I said, it became a popcorn flick when it had enough meat on the bones there to actually become something much bigger and something much better. And yeah, and who were the screenwriters on this too? I'm just interested to see who the writers were. So Stephen McFeely, Simon Stalenhag. So Simon Stalenhag is the author of the book. If that name sounds familiar to you, he actually did. There's another comic book that was actually taken, Tales from the Loop, that was done as an Amazon Prime series with little vignettes. I couldn't watch that. It actually put me to sleep. I tried watching different episodes and it put me to sleep. I know there's a lot of people that love that Tales from the Loop. I was not one of them. I was put straight asleep by all of that. And there's a reason. And this was done. Tales from the Loop was done. I want to say like 8 years ago, somewhere around there, almost 10 years ago, and no one talks about it. So if it was that good, people would have been talking about it, but obviously no one talked about it. It's out there, it's still out there on Prime, so you can go and take a look at that one if you will. And this was supposedly the better story, I guess you could say. And but anyway, the writers are Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely, and of course the creator of this book, Simon Stalenhag. And I know I'm most likely murdering his name, but Christopher Marcus, what the fuck has he written? Oh, okay, so he was Avengers Endgame. He's the Marvel guy. So Avengers Endgame, Captain America First Avenger, Avengers Infinity War, blah 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 blah. So yeah, he is of course the Russo brothers go-to guy. So he came in for that. Stephen McFeely, again, Avengers, Chronicles of Narnia, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So basically, he's another Marvel guy as well. Ooh, he was part of Thor: The Dark World. That right there should have nixed him from any of that. Ah, man. But yeah, and that's I think the reason why is they approach this more. Now it's actually making a lot more sense. They approach this more as a Marvel movie than they did its own entity, and having its own voice. Um, ugh. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I'm not looking forward to Avengers Doomsday, which the Russo brothers are attached to. I know other people have said this as well, but um, yeah, I think the Russo brothers need to move away from Marvel, or Marvel needs to move away from the Russo brothers. Is really what needs to happen. I don't think that, and I know this is going off on a tangent here, but it is kind of related. I don't think that Robert Downey Jr. was a good pick for Doctor Doom, especially since we had Mads Mikkelsen, who was fucking right there. He was going to sign the contract, and then the Russo brothers brought in Robert Downey Jr. I mean, for fuck's sake, you got Mads Mikkelsen. He would have made an awesome Doctor Doom. Anyway, but yeah, I think um, from what I'm reading in the press, anyway, is that yeah, Marvel is looking at the Electric State here and how bad it's doing streaming wise as a sign that they might change up plans for Avengers Doomsday. So fingers crossed, we can always hope that we switch things around and just not have the same status quo. I'm actually tired of Marvel doing lackluster safe movies, quite honestly, and I'm hoping Thunderbolts turns this around, because Captain America Brave New World, while it wasn't horrible, it wasn't good either. I know I switched over to Marvel movies at this point, but we're talking about the Russo brothers, so that's kind of where it leads. Um, so with that said, what else am I going to be doing the rest of this week? Well, I am going to be covering Daredevil, of course. Um, Born Again. That's what I had to remember what the subtitle was of that for a second there. It's a 2 episode. Yeah, it's 2 episodes that are released this week, so I'm going to be covering that on Wednesday. I know it released on Tuesday, but I cover it on Wednesday. I'm actually going to be going to WonderCon next weekend as well. So I don't have any hopes for anything at WonderCon, quite honestly. WonderCon has become a shell of itself and doesn't really have anything out there. I mean, there is an Invincible panel that they're going to be talking about season 4. I'm going to stop by for the Invincible panel. That's about it. Um, yeah, there's really nothing else out there unless something decides to grab me when I'm there. But pretty much it's a Disneyland trip is really what it comes down to. Um, unless you guys want something, want me to take a look at something down there at WonderCon, let me know in the chat down below, or you can go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the very bottom. There's a little email thing. You can actually message me and send out emails and whatnot. I can do that as well. So, with that said, let me just plug, things again. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the videos pop up at the very end here, and here. YouTube takes the algorithms, all the stuff you've been watching, tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. And if you like what you see in either of those, please hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media and all the links to my pages there as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will see you again. Oh, and so yeah, the final verdict on that is it's a choose your own adventure on that one. I thought it was okay. It was passable as a sci-fi movie, but other than that, it was just kind of run-of-the-mill sci-fi movie. Thanks, everyone. I will see you again on Wednesday for Daredevil Born Again. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may wind up being tapped by the Russo brothers to write a lackluster script that because whatever, you know. Thanks, everyone. I will see you again on Wednesday. Have a good rest of your night. Stay safe, be well, take care, and have a good rest of your weekend. What's left of it. Thanks, everyone. Good night.